How much did you practice in the initial stages? So from sort of day one, how often were you training on a daily basis?
Well, I mean, it was automatic, you know. You crave it so much. You can't wait to finish work, to just get home and just start it. I was not playing, you know, like I was playing like that's what I want to do. And then automatic, you come from work and just start training.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have any structure, I was just like literally no warm up. I didn't know nothing, you know, like, and just watching YouTube videos. It was not even tutorial, was just actually getting so inspired of watching, you know, hand balancing performance on YouTube. And obviously as I get deep, I couldn't hold a handstand. So firstly it was just, you know, the old school way and the best way, just up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And then as I start to hold the handstand, you know, like go for time. And then from the time, oh, now let's look at the line. And yeah, it would be around an hour. You know, like I never time because time was not relevant. It's just like, okay, I'm tired, I'm done. So it wasn't by the clock, was by the body, if that makes sense.
Does make sense.
So I would say a good 1 hour, an hour and a half, 2, you know, and then as got more obsessed, the body could take more. You know, as I said, it was going through to how the body feels like, okay, I'm tired now, maybe stop, you know.
That's cool. So at what point did you start to look at having a coach to sort of help you through? Because obviously you've done that time where you've done your practice, you're looking at testing, adjusting, using YouTube videos. At what point did you think, now I need a bit of help just to take me that next bit?
Well, that's a good one. That's a really good question. Okay, so as I mentioned, you know, like my practice was just get home and just kicking up and down. And then from the time I could hold a little bit, start to look at technique, you know, how straight I am and stuff like that. That is, you know, in 2011, hand balancing was not a thing that you see today. You can just handstand coach near me and then you're gonna find 10. No, back then was none. You know, I had a gymnastic coach that I would go to an open gym twice a week, and then he would help me a little bit with not just alignment, but more like the straddle press, the shoulder press. He helped me in that. But other than that, was just YouTube tutorials, you know, like how to one arm, and yeah, it was basic just through YouTube and just self-experimenting. But then after 2-3 years, it was a dream of mine to land with Club Victoria, and then that's where I worked for. I saved as much as I could, and then 3 years later, lucky enough, I was progressing really fast. So by the time I left New Zealand, I was already teaching handstand professionally, full time. The level of hand balancing, it was, you know, I could hold one arm very comfortably, flag work, some figures. So yeah, it's not when I did look, it's when I could have. Okay. You know, I was so focused in, okay, this is the coach that I would like to train with. But by the time, you know, I already share, you know, exchange information with Yuval, with Yuri Mamstan, those guys. That's the 2 guys that used to be more popular in the handstand teaching.
So what point did you then start to coach yourself? Because you've obviously sought out a coach and then you started to pass that knowledge on.
I mean, I started coaching my day one. I mean, trying up and down yourself, I think is that called self-coaching, right? And looking YouTube and not having a proper teacher to tell you, I guess, is yourself. Yeah. That was my self-practice, you know. Like, yes, self-coaching means you taking source from someone that you don't know, and then you make your own opinions based on what you see.
And the knowledge you have.
You know, and then that's what I call the self-practice. It's never just like randomly you come with exercise. No, it's never like that. It's always you have an inspiration, idea of somewhere, and then you put in yourself, and then you experiment yourself, And that's, it's never like 100% raw. This is the exercise I created. No, it's nothing that I create. It's just how I do and how I would like to be is what I call I created that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. At what point did you start to pass that knowledge on? Like, was it through workshops or one-to-ones? Because I met you in 2015 in London. I still remember that day very vividly.
It was in the apartment, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Okay. So that's I was by luck, like, so I was training hand balancing for a year. I could do the one arm already, like 10 seconds inconsistently, and I got invited by the Das Palace company. It's a circus entertaining company in Auckland. They were opening a new training space, a small warehouse kind of thing, and Mike invited me, hey Miguel, would you like to try to teach a handstand class? And I'm like, well, Mike, I don't know what I would do, but yes, why not? Like, it was so exciting. I mean, and nervous for me because you don't know what you're going to coach. I mean, I just train myself, and then obviously always will be the YouTube help. You have an ideas and go from there. And then I accepted, and it was a group class. Like, lucky enough, was full, and was people that nearby that I knew already, because I used to go to this like a gathering, circus gathering, that a lot of people train handstands and juggling and acros, So it was people that I was actually comfortable with, that I knew their faces. So it was pretty natural right away. And then from there, it's just the private was later on actually.
Okay.
They start like 5 months later, but it happened really quick. So from there, I worked in there for like 4 months. We start with 1 class a week, and then literally 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, something like that.
That's nuts.
It went so popular. I was like, oh, let's open another class. And then it was 2 class, and then 4 months later, I started working in a different studio myself. And just literally like 6 months later, I was starting to travel New Zealand.
That's so good.
Nationally, and on the weekends. I still gardening job. I didn't quit my gardening job until like later on, like 8 months as a teaching only on the side. And then 8 months later was full-time teaching. And then crazy enough, 6 months later, that I was full-time. It was my first international travel to teach. And then from there I was crazy enough, nearly 3 years full-time in the road, just going where the wind blows and getting to meet all the hand balance that I was inspired by, and train alongside them. And just from there, it's just the teaching grow, the experience grow, the training, the self-practice grow, the level grow. It was just grow, meeting, connecting, and just next minute is how many countries done now, yes.
I think some people don't understand that there is always this sacrificial time frame where you're working full time and pursuing your passion. Sometimes I think people can assume that you almost stumble straight into the passion, but there's almost like this grind where, and I'm assuming you were working a full day and then just hand balancing either before or after, and teaching.
And teaching, yeah. As I said, for me, everything came as my hard work. I was just so focused on my own practice that everything came. The teaching aspect, the more I trained, the more I got invited to things.
Cool.
And it's still up to date, the more I train, the more I meet you guys, I get to, teach amazing people.
Do you feel there's a difference between, I mean, obviously I've got my opinions as well, but do you feel there's a difference between online and in-person coaching? Do you feel one is more effective than the other, or do you think almost like a hybrid, a combination of both is needed with a practitioner?
I'm always going to say a hybrid combination of both, but if you're on the other side of the world, you're not going to train with a coach that you like to do because, the coach that I would like to train is on the other side of the world. I don't think it's an excuse today to pick a different coach just because the other coach is in the other side of the world. I think online coach, I never believed in it. Like I never believed. I never believed until 2019. I was sort of pushed to the online coach, and I must say, I still think a combination of both is the best, but it's definitely a little bit more serious when it's online.
Yeah.
I think it has you get the most of the teacher with online coaching. Why is that? In online coaching, the coach have to coach you, educate you, so they can coach themselves.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see that.
So I need to educate you, show you what I see, so you can see yourself, and then get better in that. But with the in-person, you just let me do. You have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just spotting you. You're not picking my brain, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then if you, 3 years later, the difference between an pure online student to a pure in-person, the in-person, incredible. They have the skill, but they don't have the knowledge, my knowledge.
Interesting.
Because I was there for them the whole time. I was carrying them, if that makes sense, with my own information, with my spotting. But with the other side, probably will know what I'm more about, because of the way I'm coaching them to coach themselves. So that's the truth. And with the online, because I'm not there, I need to know much more, because I need to break it down much more, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because, well, if you're struggling in a press to handstand, I can just come and push you up. But with the online school, if they struggle with this and say, I need to know where's the weak link and what exercise that will make that weak link stronger. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because
It's a shortcut in-person training.
Yeah, because
For
effectively
the
you've removed that, haven't
student
you?
and for the teacher, because it's easy to just spot, and that's how you should to feel.
Yeah, because you've removed feeling from the equation, so it's almost like feeling's gone down, so the other attributes have to come up, like sight. Like me telling you as an example, I've done this amount of training, because you might say, well, have you progressed in press to handstand? And I'm like, yeah. And you're like, you haven't trained, have you? And like, okay, no, I haven't trained. So that's going to make a big difference, isn't it? So you're relying on a lot of feedback, and equally also trust
You rely
from
on
your
the
part.
teacher. You rely on the teacher a lot when you in-person practice a lot.
Yeah, whereas you're saying, like, I'm going to give you some questions and you need to go away and do the work. You need to dig deep and find this in
Yeah,
yourself.
when you self-explore particular information, it's been incredible to watch the student online grow with the in-person grow. Yes, now I have opportunity to work in person because I'm based in Hong Kong now, and I've been pretty much for the last 6 years. I can actually work with the student with a longer period of time and watch the student grow. I love both, but if I have to pick one, and which one is the more efficient one, online.
Whoa.
Incredibly, yeah.
That's actually led me into another question. We talked about beginners, intermediates, and advanced. This might be quite a controversial one. How would you define a beginner, intermediate, or advanced? And what metric would you use to define that? So could it be a hold? Could it be a particular skill?
I mean, if you want to ask me when the holds, you mentioned the first one, what is, when it comes to hold, I think a beginner, it's always good to think that you're a beginner.
I agree.
Like no matter where you are, because imbalances are humbling, and I think being straightforward, if you're holding below a minute, if it's on the wall, if it's free, I think is a beginner. You know, if you can't kick up on the wall to you still holding a minute, I think it's still a lot to learn. Yeah. Still 1 minute hold is many ways of a minute hold. You know what I mean? So I think below a minute beginner, 1 to 90 is consistently you step into the intermediate level, and then from 90 to above, consistently, not just people used to say my max hold is 2 minutes. No, consistently is you step into the very comfort zone of, that's when we'll go advanced, you know.
Okay.
Like, but the 1 minute, below 1 minute, you know, some people can hold a minute handstand, but they cannot do 5 jump in a row. Or they cannot do, you know, like, that's why I'm saying the 1 minute is still a novice, you know. I think is a good way to put. And then the intermediate, you know, not just the hold, but the consistency of the entry, the consistency of the movement, and so on. And then advanced, you got all of them sharp, consistently, clean enough, perhaps, hopefully. And that's when it's time to step to one-arm handstand.
Interesting. So, particular skills, obviously there's between the 2-arm and the 1-arm, as I can relate, there could be months, years, or even decades in for some people. Are there particular time frames, say we look at something like 7 position or more advanced 2-arm skills, are there any like particular times or certain metrics, again, you'd need to hit, in your opinion, before you start looking at those things? Like, should you be able to press into a position to hold it?
Let's go straight to the holds. You know, intermediate, at least intermediate. You need to have a consistent jump.
Yep.
You know, you're already on the side that you mastering the dynamic movements like tacking, baby straddling, full straddling, and so all together. I think that's when you're ready to yes, a lot handstander go through those very quickly. Yeah. They do one, or they do 2. Okay, I'm already to 1 arm. I would say that sometimes I do start to play with the 1 arm technique with intermediate student to help the 2-hand handstand. Like, just to have extra push. I'm not talking about on a consistent base, but I would put like 10 sets of fingertips hold in a program once a week, for example. Okay. Not necessarily I'm putting that student to land the 1-arm handstand. It's just to a little bit extra spicy on the extra push for the 2-hand handstand. But when you're ready, is on your advanced. When you reach the advanced bracket, you know, not the hold is consistent, not the technique is good enough. It's never perfect, but it's good enough, you know, like the shoulders is open, the handstand is tight, steady, you know.
So that's what you define as a clean handstand?
What I define a clean handstand? What do I define as a clean handstand? Being general, a clean handstand for me is the one that has less adjustment. Less adjustment. I'm not saying a clean handstand is a hollow, perfect straight handstand. Is, yes, you have a little arch, that's okay. As far as you jump to handstand, that's less as possible adjustment, none, and you hold still.
But very natural.
Natural, it's like boom, and you hold. If it's straight, but what people do, they jump, and then they start to pick themselves, they wait to catch the balance, and then they follow the balance through slow, and then when they get on the handstand line, they start, okay, where's my head, where's my shoulders, where's my hips? That's not a clean handstand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if it's arch, jump, stay still, close, 1 or 2 adjustment or none. Yeah. That's what you find a handstand. Like when you do movements, how you breaking down the movement? Are you falling balance still, or it's not hesitation? When it's not hesitation, you're not picking up what you left behind.
So it's almost like you're growing into it, and as you unfold into the handstand, those attributes exist already. As opposed to like,
exactly what you mean.
That makes sense.
You know, like I'm obsessed with line, everyone knows. But to make it clean, even when the student, line is a lifetime work.
Yeah.
But consistently and clean techniques is what I work the whole time. Okay. And the line is the bonus, you know.
One of the big questions for a lot of practitioners is, how should the hands look? So like, for example, could it be thumb out? Could it be like hands together?
The way I do and teach mostly is the index finger facing forward, the thumb more natural. Okay. I don't particularly encourage to stick Yeah, I like more natural. I mean, you spread the four fingers, yes. Index finger facing forward, thumb natural, and from there. And I use the spider finger. Um, the weight on the heels, mostly on the heels of the hands.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily press the center. Yes, you can probably touch the center of your hands into the ground, but I do not force it.
Yeah.
I want to. My shoulders hold my handstand, not my fingertips.
So some people, they tend to like numbers. So if we were to pick, do you have like percentage rules? I know some coaches and practitioners use that almost like X amount here,
X
amount
there
here.
and X
Yeah.
there. Okay, it would definitely be between the fingertips and the heels of the hands.
Mhm.
When I'm on my sweet spot, definitely I would say 75% on the heels of the hands, or I try to go as high as I can.
Yeah.
You know, me, I'm completely stag. Okay, if the weight is isolated on the fingertips, means the fingertips is the break of your handstand.
Mm-hmm.
So you constantly having your feet in the break, right?
Yeah.
If you're leaning forward, something is forward. If I say it's 80% on my finger, you holding a falling handstand. If that makes sense, your handstand is not stacked yet.
Okay.
You know, so I would say 75 to higher on the heels and the fingers to rebalance.
Mm-hmm.
So to use that fingertip. I'm not saying it's, you're gonna be constantly using the fingers, but isolate the moment towards the heels of the hands, because you wanted the shoulders on top of completely on the top of the wrist. This is the stronger part of your hands. If you lean in your fingertips, you're forcing the wrist more. Something is over, buddy. So that's why heels of the hands.
Okay. That makes sense because you're stacking joints, like you said, like joint.
And my
joint,
hands,
joint.
as I said, my shoulders hold the handstand, not my fingertips hold my handstand. The strongest you get in the shoulders, the more the shoulders can take the handstand, hold the handstand, the softer you're gonna have your hands. So pretty much, is another way to see if you are advanced student. How much can you soft your hands while you hold the handstand?
Mm-hmm.
So for example, you hold 5-minute handstand. If you're pressing the fingers constantly, if you're pressing the fingers on the floor, it's because you're falling. Or constantly rebalance it.
Yeah.
So you want it to save as much as you can. So how soft is the hands when you're holding the handstand?
And that would make sense in
Like
regards
you can
to
see
that.
people even take their fingers off the block to do,
Yeah.
or the thumb off the block. So I don't understand when the teacher asks to do that, but when they explain what's the body position should be, they say it should be in the fingers or it should be on the center of the, like if you stand tall in your feet, the center of your feet never touch the ground. So why would I be pressing? It's not contraction in the hands. That's
Well, and we've discussed this before, but like the more tense you are, the less you feel. So like if you're relaxed, you can feel the
well.
Yes,
If you
yeah.
relax, it's because your shoulders is strong enough
doing
to
something. Yeah.
to stabilize your handstand so you can soften. If your hands are stiff on the ground, it's because everything else is not doing the job as they should, and you're in the brake. You're in the brake. You know what I mean? It's like you're going downhill on 6th gear. It's pretty much it.
Yeah,
And then you
it's
just
true.
brake. It's just brake. No, I want to go on downhill on the first brake. On the first gear.
Makes sense. Makes sense. When do you feel the student is ready for that? And at what point do you feel a coach is ready to pass on or start teaching the one arm?
So the first one, for the one out, when you're ready, I mean, is on the advanced intermediate bracket where they can move consistently firm, the handstand is firm, the movements are firm, the foundation is all on. I'm not going to say on point because it's never on point, really, it's always something to work on. But yeah, when everything is firm, so when you go to start the fingertips, I don't have to, okay, break here, break there, break here, break there. Okay, now pick up here, pick up there, pick up here, and pick up there. So it's just less break as possible. The handstand is firm And yeah, on the advanced intermediate bracket, when you're already quite consistent, quite comfortable with the two-hand handstand, the hold is strong and soft on the hands. Well, we spoke about it, and that's the time. You know, if you hold a handstand 30 seconds with a poor alignment or below a minute, unless it's that minute is very firm, I will start teach you if you have a 1 minute handstand. But is the jumps consistent? Is the handstand firm? Is the technique up to a particular standard? I'm not talking about perfection. You know, that's when I start. I think if you can inspire someone, I think you can share. You know, is your practice enough to inspire someone? Because that's how you're gonna get students, inspiring people. If you can touch someone's feeling and make them want to do what you're doing, I think that's the best way. And it's easy way to see this. Today is so much easier than before because you have social media. If you do have people, you know, comment, "Oh my God, this is so cool. This is so inspiring." I think that's a good sign of, oh, maybe I should start to share. Yeah. And then that increase the more presence that you have of like, oh, you should share that. Oh, can you show me that? Like, for example, you train in the gym, and then people's like, oh, can you show me how you do that? Or you train in the park, people come to talk to you about it. They like, how we start? Oh, you must have a call. I think this is a great signs of when you start to teach. But you deciding to teach because you have a 30-second handstand randomly, or I'm just gonna try to teach handstand, I think it's not. It's going to be a struggle because you know, to start to teach you need to have students.
So on that one, because I think it's hard to quantify for some people, because there's always this imposter syndrome, especially for people that have quite a like growth mindset. People that think, maybe I'm not good enough yet, because obviously teaching does accelerate your learning process. But what I would ask you, Miguel, is
there a particular skill level that you have to start to teach handstand?
Yeah. Or a percentage of, so say for example, I'm at, would you teach at 75% of what you could do to a student? So for example, some people
I think it's important you be able to do before you start to teach, definitely. But being straightforward, you're ready to teach when you have someone that want to learn from you. You know, like when it comes to skill and experience, and that's when your value will come in. Yeah. You know, like your value would be you have still a beginner practice. Below a minute, it's not clean alignment, not perfect, but not so clean, still quite arch handstand, or the shoulders too far forward. You're still not consistent to demonstrate handstand. You're not consistent on your dynamics, your foundations. You don't even know what foundation is. You know, you definitely not ready, you know, like you probably, how much have you spent in your hands to start to share? I mean, these is all factors, you know, like, but if you can, okay, so your handstand is A, but you're teaching B. That's, you know, I think if you have a particular way of handstand, you should to teach that particular way in your own self. Because if say students, if you have a little arch handstand, which is nothing wrong with that, and then come a student with the straight handstand naturally, are you gonna say he's doing wrong? Or you're gonna say, how are you gonna say, okay, this is what you're doing and this is how you should do? So, you know, and that's when your value is gonna be lower because it's not, you don't have so much to work with. And then you never know who is gonna walk in the door. You know what I mean?
I suppose the other question is, are you taking your student further away or closer to developing? Because for example, if you feel that your practice isn't quite there and you're dragging them this way, and then you actually know there's someone that could do better. I've in the past said,
and then
I know these people,
the next
go to
coach. The next coach if the next coach is more experienced, he will have to first bring the student back into a particular role, which is so difficult because it's not just body awareness, it's not just, but you have to convince the person, hey, And then once you convince, it start to work.
Yeah.
And this is like, it can take 6 months, so you're going to lose the student before you actually start to come back, or even before you convince, you know. And some people, and some student that come from different coach, they give you one go.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't like that guy, I'm not going to go anymore. And which you would need way more than a few classes, you know. So it's a broad question, but man, study handstand more, you know. But yes, if you have people asking for you to share, you know. Peak-wise, if you want a long-term teacher, obviously you're gonna have to look for the most experienced teacher that you have years and years with them. If you pick a coach just because you want something simple to start, you might as well just wait a little bit and pick, you know. If you just want to low skills, not mastery anything, just be able to hold a handstand, there's plenty of teachers like that.
So,
you know, it's
I
plenty.
think that's led me to a good question, in my opinion, is do you feel that people don't spend long enough with a teacher to truly learn from them?
Definitely. Because there's so many options there today, so many styles. You know, all the students, they always looking for the secret, the secret.
What is the secret?
What's the secret? Cash off bag, a bag of cash. Just bring a lot of money, I can give it to you. Yeah, that's what I mean though. Yeah, I mean, you can self-practice.
Yeah.
It's so much content in the YouTube. Like back when I started was not much, and I still picked that, and lucky enough was right for me the way I did. Just pick wise, and the less coaches the better. I believe the better. It's just because if one like orange get you to work on the orange, and then another one on the whiskey, and then you go whiskey, orange, whiskey. What's right? What's
Yeah, it's confusing.
It's confusing.
At least stay with one thing to get to a point where you're learning the principles behind it. Yeah.
So if you want a one-off coach, most likely you will straight away pick a coach that hasn't done much, you know. But if you want a long term, you're really looking to master, perfect the handstand, you know, you look at coach how they do it themselves. That's one. Look at their students, how the student is doing.
Yeah.
And then that's the way to, and then go to by person, you know. Do you like the teacher charisma? Do you connect with that teacher? You know, I think it's three things.
That's
the coach skill itself, his skill, how much he have achieved. The student, which is the coach's reputation. And do you connect with the coach? Because sometimes the coach can have this two quality, and then you go to the coach, it doesn't connect. It doesn't feel right. So do you connect with the coach? Do you like what the coach do? What the coach have done? So these are, I think, three things to pick.
Leads on to the next one quite nicely, actually. Do you feel we're at a point where there needs to almost be a standard, an industry standard, because hand balancing is becoming so popular? If we look at yoga as an example, there are governing bodies that look at that and say you must attain a certain standard or go through a certain course prior to teaching, because there's so much variety. And let's phrase it from, to get the best out of the student and to help them develop safely with good form, do you feel a criteria or certification would be a good thing within the industry?
It's not such a thing up to these days.
I say, sorry, just to rephrase that, not necessarily industry, but art itself. Obviously, hand balancing is getting very popular. If we look at yoga as an example, the industry, or yoga industry, and I hate to call it that because it's an art, it's something far deeper than that, but it has become something that earns money. Do you feel that, like yoga, a certification is needed within the hand balancing or for hand balancers to improve not only for coaches but also for the students to progress safely with good form?
I haven't seen such a thing, certification for hand balance yet. I do believe, because up to today, what hand balance coaching is come from gymnastics, from a gymnastic teach handstand, a CrossFit gym teach handstand, a yoga practitioner teach handstand, and that is things certifications for that. But for hand balance itself, doesn't have it yet. Not that I know or haven't seen. I do believe it would be very, very good for the community to have particular standards or particular training before you start coach, so the coaches are more well educated, not just self-practicing, and just start randomly pick some stuff on YouTube like I did myself, like enough work, and then today I have 10 plus years of teaching experience. But I do want to help the community as much as I can. I've been working something very, very special, and I really hope this is going to help so much, and will give the teacher and the student more confident to teach, because up to today I haven't coached student to coach handstand. So what they do is like what I did back then. They watch, they pick what they learn, and they translate how they see it to the student. But no, what my goal is they come, I coach them how to coach based in what I believe, and they follow the same. Like you see a lot of students come from student. So a lot of my students are teaching handstand today, a lot, like incredible, a lot. And especially in Hong Kong. So I see a lot of students come from student, and they like, oh, but he told me it was like that. Oh, but that one told me it's like that. And I'm like, what can I do? So they come to learn handstand what they need, not what they shouldn't need. So, and then what they pass is what they need, and then it's not like that. It doesn't work like that. So I do, but my end goal is they come to learn from me, and they teach what I teach them. You know what I mean? So I hope I will be able to create a good enough product where it's going to be clear enough what I like and what I value, what my value is, instead of just make up through your own experience. You know what I mean? So I believe something like this would be very cool, and I'm sure would shake the handstand community a little bit, because it's not easy to put a method together in a paper. It's like I've been working with the writer Glenn Cardosa, amazing writer, for 2.5 years, and we want to do 3. Like we want to do the beginner, which is the bigger one, where you have the theory, the advanced, the intermediate, and the one arm. Which is going to cover the advanced mastering. So it's 3. So, and we nearly 3 years we didn't even finish the first one. So it's that amount of content that I want to share, to make not easy just for the student, and as I said, to the teacher even more. I wanted to make very clear what the theory is when it comes to my method, and how you're going to place the student, how you're going to assess the student, what they need. We have 14 programs in there, 1 to 14, where 1 is the lowest and 14 is the highest on that particular level, and you're going to be able to easily assess. Yes, I believe it would be very good, and I think the student will feel more comfortable, the teacher will feel more comfortable, and would be less hit and miss.
I think that's one of you're hitting on the principles, aren't you? So for example, you teach this, then like the order of teaching certain things, I think is very important. And equally, it also these things come from challenges we've had in our past, where for example, as a coach, you step into that room for the first time and went, damn,
what I'm going to do.
What order is it coming in?
That's what I'm
you've
saying.
Had to
So
learn this stuff.
I want to give the coach a standard, confidence, I mean, I just want to carry them.
It's the map.
Not just like, okay, you came to my workshop and then you put in your CV that you train under me. But you teach completely different what I teach. Because what you're teaching is what you think I was teaching.
At that time as
At
well.
that,
You've changed over the years.
of
We all
course,
change,
because
we
you
all
get
change.
better.
Of course.
You get better and better and better.
Of course.
So yes, I'm so excited
cool, man.
to this, and I'm sure, you know, we're gonna have lots of opinion, but what I'm trying to do is this, is make a standard and make it clear. So if you come to learn from me and you wanna teach and you wanna put in your CV, I wanna put in my website a particular area where you can see a student that be signed by me because they pass a particular test. Obviously first, who is going to be there? Someone that's been training with me for a while, because to not pass the test is not just you read and then you done. It's not like that. You need to go through a process. There will be an assessment one by one before there you go. Now you can actually say that you teaching my ideas, you know, instead of, I've been to his workshop, he don't even know my name, but yeah, he's my teacher. Man, you see that so much. How many people come to the workshops over 10 years? Thousands. And then someone in California or doesn't matter where, is teaching my thing that I don't even know. You know,
unfortunately, I think it's.
So I want to have somewhere that's very clear. Okay, teachers teaching this math around the world. David Tilston, Brendan in Australia, and you know.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think it's got as bad as now. If someone watches a couple of YouTube videos, they then quote that person, and I've seen it done. Quote that person as the teacher. So I think it is very important to have that where you are just saying, look, hey, this guy's trained me or this girl's trained with me for a long time, and I feel that they can pass my method on, because name is important as well. I feel
you need to have a particular amount of the time before you start your share, and it needs to be. You need to have some principles, not just like what skill you want to learn, and then you start teaching. It's not what skill you want to learn. It's what skill you're ready to learn. It's not what you want. It's what the teacher think is right for you. Yeah, today become a lot like that. You come to me because you want to learn one-arm press, and then you find out that you can badly handstand. You know what I mean? But it's normal. It's normal. I mean, people want to learn the press handstand. They hold already 30 seconds consistent. And then, okay, can we do the tuck chest wall? They can't. Because they can't switch on areas. They can't. I don't know, man. It's just what I see is what I'm telling you. I find this a lot.
So, and what else interests you, Miguel? Because I don't think a lot of people, I mean, I know you. I've known you for years now. But to someone that doesn't know you, what else interests you? Like, I know cameras are a big deal, hence why these look so good.
Yeah, well, I like good image. I like, so I care about presentation. It's always been my side project, play how good I can make it look, not just skill-wise, but I want to see when you look a video or a photo, I want to take in the viewer's perspective and see how it feels to look at that. I wanted to not just see a good handstand, but wow, he took time. You have some serious things behind that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love good image. If it's videoing, if it's photos, today is up to the videos. So we concentrate more on the videos. So it's been I'm enjoying editing videos lately. But I do have, I finished building the farm back in Brazil. Not just myself, my mom is the manager who was there on site, making sure everything was done correctly, and I'm on the background constantly, this is how I want, this is not what I want, this is not, break it, let's build it again. So that was a huge project which is it's supposed to be like a 2 little bedroom, $10,000 per brother between the brothers. We have 4 brothers. Yeah. And then obviously, as soon the walls start going up, okay, can we do this way? Or can we add that? Me, on my side. And then obviously, I'm calling the shots. you know, I'm the one financially behind the building, and it's supposed to be a family thing for my mom and dad. Go on the weekend and become pretty much a mini retreat center.
With a handball studio.
Yes, yes. And then we actually, you yourself went to my first international train they are hosting there, and I couldn't be happier. I mean, it's overwhelming knowing that it's there, and I achieved with your support, with everyone that believe on my teaching. And yeah, I mean, I just can't wait to share more. Obviously, you know, grow there would be nice, but now I guess maybe it's time to build my own home for myself, wife, maybe kids. Who knows? No, who knows? Yeah, and then just keep growing. You know, like the course, the certification, the training course is coming up soon, and then hopefully work on the second, the third, and that's the biggest. Family, courses, education, you know, on the public, and keep sharing the amazing experience like this one, you know, like Ibiza. We just here in Ibiza training handstand tomorrow. Today is the first day. You know, next we're going to Brazil again. I want to take people to Brazil twice a year. That's it.
That's awesome, man. There's one question to finish on. Anyone that's handstanding right now is probably thinking and experiencing plateaus, these points where nothing progresses. What one piece of advice would you give to a hand balancer, whether they've been doing it a month or 10 years? What one piece of advice do you feel could get them through, like, to keep going?
What a question.
Got to drop that in right there.
What a question. What a question. It's always a plateau, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a teacher, it's not the student's job to worry about that.
Just stay consistent.
It's just trust and just keep going. If the teacher has the experience, you know, it's like if you hit the plateau, it's not just, okay, now it's time to change the teacher. But before that decision, what's the teacher experience? Is the teacher able to do that? Maybe you hit the plateau because probably, I mean, there's a few facts in that why you hit plateau, because it can be you doing some things way above your thing, and the teacher probably don't have the experience or the knowledge, or somehow can break it down more, can regress you so you can progress. It can be that. It can be a few things, but this is a big one, you know. You just gotta trust. You gotta keep going. You just gotta keep going.
Trust and
keep going. Keep going. Because hand balance, that's what it is, you know. Like here I am, 10 years doing hand balancing. We met in 2014, 15, something like that. Have my level changed? Have my level changed? You know, like I hit the plateau because of the injuries. The stand is too high. Handstand is a plateau. You know, trust your teacher, man. Trust your teacher. If your teacher's, I mean, unless you've been with the teacher for so long and you like hit like 2 years later, you haven't done nothing different. That's something to think about.
I suppose trust yourself as well.
Trust yourself is the number one. If you can't trust yourself, how are you going to trust someone else? You know, like if you don't believe in yourself, I mean, the teacher should help you believe in yourself. You know, should help carry you up. The teachers to carry you up. It's not just you carry yourself and then the teacher come along. It's like it's a
two-way thing.
It's a two-way thing, you know. So
trust yourself. Trust your teacher. Keep going.
Keep going.
Come on.
Keep going.
Brother.
Amazing. Woo! Let's go train.
Let's train.
It's time.
Cheers, man.
And one arm handstand on the canes myself. It took me a year to do it on the floor. You know, like this is one thing. I remember two things that took me a long time to adapt. I learned one arm on the canes to go to the floor. I don't remember precisely, but it wasn't less than a year. And then the other thing was turning my head while I'm holding the one-arm handstand. Like this. I used to look at my thumb for 7 years. If you scroll my Instagram, you see I used to turn my head. And then for the past few years, I look on the floor. That took me a year. Like a minimum to change from here to natural. And that's how I teach today. I try to, the thing is, if you look in the center and you look in your hands, easier. So basically I'm trying to do one thing that leads to other instead of do one that doesn't lead you to anything else.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it's like a handstand on the floor so you can translate to other things faster. Look in the middle so you can look, you know what I mean? So I found really hard myself. I don't know other people, but when I went to turn to, you know, like remember the clean technique? When you make less, you know, for example, you go to an arm handstand and probably you might ask, you know, like, would you like the flag or no flag? So what, yeah, that's your probably next question. I knew you would say that. You know, like, okay, so if you go to an arm handstand, but before you go to an arm handstand, okay, you have to shift your shoulders to the side, you have to turn your head, you need to flag, you need to do this and this and that. But that doesn't become a clean handstand anymore.
Separate.
Because of you breaking down so much. Yes, of course, when you learn, you have to break down so much. No, but that's ways to teach that you don't break down so much. One, when the student is a little bit not ready for it, the more the student is not ready for it, the more you have to break it. So why not build a better foundation so you don't have to break it down as much? Like I'm talking about the one-arm handstand, right? If the student cannot hold steady, they already learning one-arm handstand, and the teacher required to break it down so much, and then they already starting do this and that, and then by the time they get in the fingertips, that 10 seconds later.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that define what is clean for me and what's not.
Yeah, too much isolation, not enough integration.
That was a bomb.
Yeah, and then obviously, yeah, then you're going to adapt and improvise based on that.
This is not something I came up
No.
to, you know, this is something that if you ask me the same question 7 years ago, it would be completely sad. Now, as today, I went from this to this. That's what I'm saying. When you want to make the transition as less noticeable at all. You know, once you pick a teacher, you have nothing to worry about. You shouldn't worry if your head position is good. You shouldn't worry if you're doing less or more. That's your teacher's job, you know. So you're paying for your peace of mind. You know, what's right, what's wrong, it doesn't matter. You know, because that's the teacher's job to carry the student. You know, your success is my success as student and teacher, you know, like I want to give my student comfort. You know, your progress is my job, you know, like, and yeah, I think that's a good student becomes first is a trust, how much trust it becomes between student and teacher, and then discipline. Not saying mastering all of them. I mean, if you can master all of them, even better. But you know, don't say that way is the best way when you don't know the other way. That's what, and the only way. So that's what sometimes gets a little bit fiery between opinions of two different coaches. They say this is the way. You should not squeeze your butt in the handstand. You should not engage your core in the handstand. You know what I mean? But then when they can do that, that's, you know, I like to squeeze my butt. I like to suck my tummy in. Oh, but this is not the best way. Okay, I just relax, and I still know. But when comes the excuse like, no, this is not the best way, and you can't do it, that's something.